thank Comrade Sara for the excellent and well-researched report and the video accompaniment. If it seems like the big mouthpieces for U.S. imperialism have been a little muted, like Trump, for example, and that could change, especially if the situation intensifies. I actually think Comrade Sara kind of laid the basis for that strategy. There's a lot at stake here for U.S. imperialism. They would rather have the CIA and the National Endowment and all of their infrastructure, politically, economically. They'd rather have that doing the job as opposed to, at least at this point, taking the lead position. What are the reasons for this? China's huge. And how they deal with China, they want to get rid of it, but it's kind of big for them to do that. What some of them are thinking about in terms of the situation in Hong Kong, they want it to spread to the mainland. And some of them are hopeful that it may turn into a counter-revolution. They can't say it, but that's plan B, you know. But there's a flip side to that, which is another reason why they're a little muted. If things go wrong and the reaction of the Chinese Communist Party and the masses there is like, you're going to play that game? Guess what? We've been trying to use soft power. We've been trying to be diplomatic. We've been trying to make agreements. I'll tell you what, that's off. You want counter-revolution? How about revolution first? And it could actually push China and the Chinese Communist Party in a more left direction, in a more militant direction. And that's a problem for U.S. imperialism. Why? Because China's big. China's very big. It is a challenge. And I think the way that Sara described, you know, it's a class position. What side are you on? You know, we have to be prepared to answer complicated questions. It's a big confusion for the left. Our position is fairly unique. There are some in our camp who understand it more clearly, who see through all the grass and all the, you know. There are others who, you know, they kind of have like a little bit of they're in the middle, you know. The protests are good, but they can't be so reactionary, kind of like that, you know. They're trying to have it, and we'll have to become, you know, more conversant, more able to deal with the complexities, the nuances. And then there are some who are, you know, supposedly on the left, who have basically given up on China and consider it to be reactionary and imperialist. And to them, any rebellion against China and the Communist Party there is, by their definition, it's progressive, you know, which is, that's, you know, that's terribly, terribly wrong and could misinform and mislead a lot of people. But as much as we have the burden as defenders of the Chinese Revolution and all of its contradictions, and, you know, opponents, sworn to the death opponents of U.S. imperialism and all imperialism, it's a big challenge for the Communist Party in China. And you know, they're number one. They're on the line here, what they do. 40 years ago, I think it was about then, under the Deng leadership, they decided to turn inward to revert from being a country that was promoting worldwide revolution, you know. Just, well, we've got to develop our own productive forces, you know. Whether we even have a cohesive and united view on that in the party is another question, you know. I think Sara has, you know, shed a lot of light on that, and also, you know, given us the view of some other, you know, let us know about the view of some others. For example, the party in Britain, you know, that some of you are familiar with. We made a pamphlet on it, and it was very informative, you know. My view, short of a continuing discussion in the party, which we must have, is that China had every right to develop its productive forces. They had every right to do that, you know. Was there a downside? It made it easier for some to give up on China, who say they're revolutionary, because China held that position for a long time. You know, actually, in comparison or in competition, or as against the former Soviet Union. You know, it went off the rails with Soviet social imperialism, but that's another story. When you let capitalism in, even if you want to try to control it and use it, and then maybe get rid of it, which is, you know, that's the thinking, you know, of the leaders in the party. You open the door, you get a lot of the garbage, ideologically and politically, and you strengthen a social class, you know, because you have millionaires and billionaires there. And then you bring in all the shit from the West, all the counter-revolutionary shit. So you can't be surprised if here or there, all of a sudden, it bubbles up. Because that comes with what you did, you know. I mean, even the contradiction of one country, two systems. How long can that last? You know? It's a nice idea. And from a nationalist perspective, which they have every right to have, by the way, in my view, especially after an endless period of being victimized by colonialism and imperialism, first the Japanese and then the West, you know. The Chinese people, whatever their situation is, they have a right to say, listen, you know, we're important, and we're not going to take anybody's crap, anybody's, you know, subjugation anymore. But these contradictions bring with them problems. So keep things in perspective. Hong Kong, what makes Hong Kong really important is it's another global financial center. That's another reason why some of the big imperialist voices are a little bit, because, you know, they got, on one hand, they want counter-revolution. They want to spread to the mainland. On the other hand, they're worried about falling into a endless hole of capitalists imploding, the capitalist economy imploding. So if one of their centers in Hong Kong, if that's affected by anything, then bad timing for them. and they're worried about that. But remember, Hong Kong is important, but it's about 7 or 8 million people. How many people are there in China? 1.7, 1.8 billion? You know, something like that? You know, so keep it in perspective. Anyway, I hope that, you know, beyond this discussion, we continue this, because understanding the contradictions so that we're in a better position to defend China is going to be paramount, without saying that we give a blank check to the Chinese Communist Party. You know, we can't do that. Nobody thinks that's a good idea. It won't be helpful to defending them. Actually, by delving in and becoming conversant and comfortable with the contradictions, it'll be the best way that we can prepare the best elements in the revolutionary movement to defend China. And it's going to need defense, because you see what's happening with U.S. imperialism and China.